The Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse. The Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse are symbolic figures that appear in the biblical book of Revelation, also known as the Apocalypse, which is part of the New Testament of the Bible. These horsemen are described as triggers of catastrophic events signaling the end of the world and the final judgment. Each rider is associated with a color, a symbol, and a type of calamity. Number 4. The rider on the pale horse, or green. The Apocalypse rider, known as the rider on the pale horse, is an emblematic and terrifying figure that is part of apocalyptic symbolism. This rider is described in the biblical book of Revelation, chapter 6, verses 7 to 8. He is depicted riding a pale horse, also known in some interpretations as a green horse. The pale or green horse symbolizes death and desolation. The rider on the pale horse is portrayed with a scythe in hand, an instrument with which he reaps the lives of those he looms over. His presence evokes images of plagues, diseases, and famines that ravage the earth, leaving behind a trail of devastation and suffering. The appearance of this rider is interpreted as a warning about the imminent challenges humanity will face in the final times. His arrival suggests that death looms over all people, regardless of their social status, wealth, or power. He is an implacable and inevitable figure, reminding humanity of its own mortality and the fragility of earthly existence. Number 3. The rider on the black horse. The Apocalypse rider, known as the rider on the black horse, is an iconic figure that is part of the apocalyptic symbolism described in the book of Revelation in the Christian Bible. This passage, specifically in chapter 6, verses 5 to 6, recounts the opening of one of the seals that trigger a series of catastrophic events culminating in the end times. The rider on the black horse is associated with famine and scarcity. Riding a black horse, he is said to carry a balance in hand and a voice announcing the high prices of basic foodstuffs, such as wheat and barley, in relation to the daily wage. This image is interpreted as a symbol of scarcity and the difficulty of obtaining food during apocalyptic times. The description of the rider on the black horse carries profound symbolic weight. The color black represents darkness and death, while the balance symbolizes equilibrium and fair measurement. However, in this context, it suggests an unbalanced and unequal economy. Food shortages and high prices signal the desperation and struggle that people will face in those difficult times. Number 2. The rider on the red horse. The rider on the red horse, one of the emblematic horsemen of the apocalypse according to biblical and apocalyptic tradition, personifies war and destruction. Riding a fiery red horse, he symbolizes violence, conflict, and annihilation that accompany the darkest and most catastrophic moments in human history. This rider is described with a large sword in his hand, representing his power to wreak havoc and death in his path. His mission is to carry out divine justice, unleashing wars and conflicts that disrupt peace on earth. His presence brings calamities and disasters, pushing humanity to the brink of its existence. The red color of the horse symbolizes the blood spilled in battles and conflicts caused by this rider. His actions are a representation of divine wrath and retribution for the sins and transgressions committed by humanity. His figure evokes a sense of fear and awe, reminding people of the fragility of life and the impermanence of the structures that shape their world. Number 1. The rider on the white horse. The rider on the white horse, one of the four horsemen of the apocalypse according to biblical tradition, is an enigmatic figure that has captured the imagination of cultures and beliefs throughout history. This rider is often interpreted as a symbol of conquest, purity, victory, or even divine justice, depending on cultural and religious perspectives. In the book of Revelation, part of the New Testament of the Bible, the rider on the white horse is described as one who carries a bow and a crown. He advances through the earth, conquering and overcoming, while following his unstoppable path. His white mount has been interpreted as a symbol of purity and triumph, suggesting a noble or celestial purpose in his mission. In some interpretations, this rider represents Christ himself in his second coming, as a celestial leader who brings justice and redemption to the world. Other interpretations suggest that the rider symbolizes the victory of good over evil or the onset of catastrophic events preceding the end times.